People often ask me what drives someone to keep pushing forward through failure, through uncertainty, through those long nights when everything seems impossible. And I've realized it's not always a grand vision or a $1 billion idea that keeps you going. Sometimes it's someone who reminds you why you started in the first place. For me, that realization didn't come in a moment of success or triumph. It came quietly in between the chaos when I met her. She wasn't someone who arrived with fireworks or fanfare. There was no dramatic music, no movie scene moment. It was much simpler, almost ordinary. But that's what made it so profound. She walked into my life with calm energy, the kind that doesn't demand attention but commands it naturally. You know, the kind of person who doesn't just light up a room, but changes the frequency of it. That was her. At first, I couldn't quite define what drew me in. It wasn't about attraction in the traditional sense. It was a connection that felt almost gravitational, like the world tilted just slightly toward her. She had this rare balance of empathy and strength. When she spoke, it wasn't loud, but it carried weight. When she listened, it wasn't passive, it was complete. And I think that's when it hit me. What I was looking for all along wasn't perfection, it was presence. You see, in a world that constantly pulls you in every direction, data, deadlines, decisions, it's easy to lose touch with what's real. I'd built my life around ideas, ambition, and innovation, but somewhere in that process, I forgot that the most powerful innovations are emotional. Connection, understanding, love. When she came into my orbit, she didn't try to fix me or fuel my ambitions. She just saw me. And when someone truly sees you, you start to see yourself differently too. There's a certain kind of clarity that only another person can bring, not because they give you answers, but because their presence makes the questions worth asking. She challenged me not by arguing, but by existing. She reminded me that strength isn't about moving fast, it's about moving with purpose. That intelligence isn't about knowing everything, it's about being open to learn. That love isn't a distraction, it's the ultimate form of focus. And that's when I discovered something deeper. She wasn't what I wanted, she was what I needed. There's a difference. Want is driven by ego, it's about filling a void. Need is driven by purpose, it's about finding alignment. She brought alignment into my life, not by changing my path, but by reminding me why I was walking it in the first place. It's strange how life works. We chase things. Success, recognition, progress, thinking they'll bring fulfillment. But sometimes fulfillment arrives disguised as a conversation, a quiet smile, or someone who just believes in you when you've forgotten how to believe in yourself. She became that mirror, not reflecting what I was, but what I could be. When I think about that discovery now, I realize it wasn't really about finding her. It was about finding the part of myself that had gone silent. She didn't complete me. She woke me up. She reminded me that behind every great idea, every bold decision, every risk worth taking, there's always a heartbeat, a human reason that makes it all matter. So when I say, she's what I need, it's not about dependency. It's about inspiration. It's about the power of one person to shift your entire understanding of what's possible. She became my compass in a world spinning too fast. The reminder that purpose without connection is just motion without meaning. And that's the discovery I'll never forget sometimes. The most groundbreaking thing you'll ever find isn't out there among the stars. It's right in front of you, in the quiet presence of the one who makes you remember why you were reaching for them in the first place. When I think about what makes her truly extraordinary, it isn't something you can measure or calculate. It's not the kind of thing you find on a array some or a list of achievements. Her value isn't in what she does. It's in how she is. In a world obsessed with metrics and performance, it's easy to forget the quiet power of character. But with her, it's unmistakable. Every quality she carries feels intentional, purposeful, like each one was designed to keep me grounded while I reached higher. The first thing you notice about her is her calm. It's not the absence of energy, it's the presence of control. When the world around us feels like it's burning, she somehow manages to stay centered, unshaken. I've been in rooms filled with chaos, negotiations, launches, failures. But her calm isn't silence, it's stability. It's the kind of calm that reminds you that storms are temporary, but composure is a choice. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't need to dominate a room to lead it. Her strength is subtle but unyielding. And then there's her curiosity. She asks questions that make you think differently. Questions that push past what's possible and into why it's worth doing. That's something rare. Most people look at problems and see barriers. She looks and sees opportunity. She doesn't just accept the world as it is. She dissects it, studies it, challenges it. And that's contagious. Her curiosity isn't about knowing more, it's about understanding better. It's what drives progress, and in a strange way, it's what keeps life from becoming predictable. She's also patient, but not in the passive sense. Her patience is active, disciplined, purposeful. It's the patience of someone who understands that good things take time and that growth isn't linear. I've learned that in engineering, in business, and now in life, sometimes you have to wait for alignment before acceleration. She embodies that principle. When I rush, she reminds me to breathe. When I get lost in the next goal, she brings me back to the moment. Her patience isn't about slowing down, it's about moving at the speed of meaning. There's also this unwavering empathy in her, the kind that makes you feel seen even when you're trying to hide. She doesn't just listen to respond, she listens to understand. That's a rare skill, especially today, when everyone's trying to speak louder just to be heard. Her empathy is what makes her powerful, not weak, because empathy doesn't mean softness. It means awareness. It means she can sense the pulse of a room, the emotion behind the words, the truth hidden in the silence. And when she connects, it's real. There's no pretense, no performance, just genuine care. Another thing that defines her is conviction. She believes in things deeply, not recklessly, but with intent. She doesn't follow trends or opinions. She stands firm in her values, and that's something I admire endlessly, because conviction is becoming a lost art. The ability to say, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, without needing validation. That's strength. Her conviction isn't stubbornness, it's integrity in motion. She's the kind of person who does the right thing even when no one's watching, and especially when it's hard, and above all, she believes in people, in potential, in the future. When I see the way she believes, it reignites something in me. It reminds me why believing matters at all, because belief is the spark that turns ideas into reality. When everything feels impossible, she's the quiet voice that says, try again. That belief doesn't come from naivety, it comes from courage. It's easy to be cynical, it's easy to give up, but she chooses belief. Every single day, when I put all those pieces together, her calm, her curiosity, her patience, her empathy, her conviction, her belief, I see a kind of brilliance that doesn't fade with time or attention. She's not extraordinary because she tries to be. She's extraordinary because she's real. She's not chasing perfection. She's living with purpose. And that's what defines her most. She doesn't just inspire by what she says or does, but by who she is when no one's watching. She doesn't move the world through noise or force. She moves it through presence. And that's the kind of power that doesn't just change lives. It changes everything. You know, one of the most unexpected things about encountering someone who truly matters is how they shift the way you see the world. It's not a sudden earthquake of understanding, but a subtle realignment, a gentle recalibration of priorities and perception. Before her, I thought I knew what mattered most. I thought progress, speed, and achievement defined value. I thought the horizon was the only place worth looking. And then she arrived, and suddenly, the horizon didn't feel so distant. The path didn't feel solitary, and the things I thought were critical seemed incomplete. She has this uncanny ability to make you notice things you've been ignoring. The quiet moments, the nuances of intention, the unseen impact of a single action. Before her, I measured success by metrics, by outcomes, by milestones. After her, I began to see success in the spaces between, in moments of understanding, in acts of patience, in the courage to care when it isn't easy. She changed my perspective by showing me that life isn't just about crossing the finish line, but about who's running alongside you and what you're learning on the way. What's remarkable is how effortlessly she shifts the lens of perception. She asks questions not to challenge, but to illuminate. Simple questions that make you reconsider assumptions you didn't even realize you were holding on to. She doesn't just give answers. She opens doors in your mind, and suddenly, a problem you thought was impossible becomes solvable. A mistake you thought was devastating becomes a lesson. A fear you thought was permanent becomes an invitation. Through her, I learned that perspective isn't about seeing more. It's about seeing differently. She also taught me the value of patience and timing. I've spent years chasing timelines, pushing against constraints, trying to compress years of work into months, thinking urgency was everything. Watching her navigate life with calm precision, without losing momentum, without compromising on values, I began to understand that acceleration without clarity is wasted energy. She changed my perspective by showing me that sometimes moving slower and more deliberately actually creates more impact. That timing isn't a limitation, it's a tool. Empathy, too, is something she reintroduced to me in a way I hadn't appreciated before. I've always believed in solutions, in logic, in efficiency. But she taught me that understanding the human element, feeling the pulse of those around you, matters just as much as innovation itself. When you truly empathize, when you truly consider perspective beyond your own, your decisions gain depth, your relationships gain meaning, and your vision becomes more sustainable. She made me realize that technical mastery alone can't drive real change. It must be paired with emotional intelligence, with awareness. Connection isn't accidental. It's intentional, and when it's real, it has the power to transform everything. Before her, I thought connection was about shared interests or common goals. I thought it was transactional. Give something, get something, move on. But with her, I realized connection is something far richer, far more intricate. It's the silent understanding in a glance, the shared conviction in a moment of uncertainty, the alignment of values that doesn't need to be explained. It's a force that can turn chaos into clarity, fear into courage, and uncertainty into a shared adventure. What's remarkable about this connection is that it doesn't diminish individuality. In fact, it amplifies it. She doesn't demand that I conform or compromise my vision, she complements it. She challenges me, encourages me, and yet allows me to maintain my sense of self. True connection doesn't ask for sameness. It celebrates difference while finding harmony. That harmony is what makes collaboration, innovation, and even love sustainable. It's not about merging into one identity. It's about amplifying each other's strengths. Connection also has this incredible way of revealing truth. When you are truly connected to someone, masks start to fall away. Pretenses, insecurities, and doubts no longer have power because there is trust, respect, and understanding at the foundation. I've seen how her presence makes people reveal their potential, not because she asks them to, but because her connection creates the space for authenticity. It's fascinating to watch because once authenticity emerges, everything else becomes possible. Projects accelerate, ideas flourish, and challenges become shared missions instead of burdens. There's a kind of energy that comes from connection that's almost impossible to describe, but impossible to ignore. When she enters a room, the energy shifts. It's not about charisma or attention seeking, it's about presence. And that presence, that genuine alignment, is magnetic. It draws out the best in people, encourages collaboration, and sparks creativity. I've realized that connection isn't just emotional, it's catalytic. It can turn an ordinary team into a powerhouse, an ordinary day into a breakthrough, and an ordinary life into a legacy. Another element of connection she embodies is resilience. When life gets messy, relationships strain, or challenges feel insurmountable, a strong connection acts like a stabilizer. It's the difference between drifting aimlessly and navigating purposefully. I've witnessed this countless times. When we are connected, we move together through uncertainty, supporting each other, complementing each other's weaknesses, and reinforcing strengths. That's the kind of connection that doesn't just survive adversity, it thrives in it. And connection, at its core, is about understanding and empathy. It's the willingness to see the world from another perspective, to feel what they feel, and to act in ways that honor that understanding. With her, I've seen how deep connection allows you to navigate differences without conflict, to inspire without coercion, and to lead without demanding. She demonstrates that the strongest bonds are not built on obligation or necessity. They are built on mutual recognition, trust, and shared vision. Ultimately, she showed me that connection is the engine that drives everything meaningful in life. Without it, achievements feel hollow, ideas remain abstract, and progress lacks purpose. With it, even the impossible seems reachable. It's the invisible force that multiplies impact, fosters understanding, and creates a legacy far beyond individual effort. She reminded me that life is not about solitary victories, but about the people you align with, the minds you challenge, and the hearts you touch. The power of connection is quiet, yet unstoppable. It shapes choices, amplifies potential, and transforms ordinary existence into something extraordinary. And the lesson she gave me is clear: connection isn't just part of life, it is life itself, and when it's real, it changes everything in ways you never imagined. One of the most remarkable things about her isn't just who she is in the moment, but the way she inspires growth. Not as a demand, not as a push, but as a quiet, undeniable influence that changes the way you see yourself and the world. Growth is rarely linear. It doesn't happen overnight. It's messy, uncomfortable, sometimes even painful. But she has this way of guiding it, shaping it, and amplifying it without ever making you feel forced. Being around her makes you want to be better, not out of obligation, but because you can't help seeing the potential in yourself that she always seems to notice. Before her, I thought growth was about achievement, hitting milestones, launching projects, moving faster, achieving more. And yes, those things matter. But through her influence, I began to understand that real growth is much deeper. It's about character. It's about integrity. It's about the small, deliberate choices you make every day that compound over time. She showed me that growth isn't just external progress. It's internal evolution. It's not what you accomplish that defines you, but what you become in the process. She has this way of reflecting the best version of yourself back at you, even when you don't see it. I've watched her do it countless times. Someone feels stuck, unsure, maybe even defeated, and she doesn't lack potential, and celebrating their success doesn't diminish your own. It multiplies it. I've learned that growth isn't a solitary pursuit. It's a network journey, and she's a masterful guide on that path. Her encouragement isn't pushy, it's strategic in the best sense as she identifies strengths, nurtures them, and challenges you to expand beyond what you think you can achieve. There's also a subtle, almost imperceptible way she teaches patience and timing. Growth isn't immediate, and she reminds me of that constantly. She demonstrates that rushing through development often leads to mistakes, while deliberate, thoughtful progression leads to sustainability. She's not just about moving forward. She's about moving forward wisely, making choices that compound into long-term success rather than short-term wins. That perspective has reshaped not just my work, but how I approach life itself. Perhaps the most transformative aspect of her influence is how she inspires self-belief. Being around her, you start to trust your own instincts more. Take calculated risks with confidence and embrace the uncertainty of growth rather than fear it. She teaches through example that the path to becoming the person you're capable of being is rarely clear or straight, but it's always worth pursuing. She makes you accountable to yourself, not through judgment, but through inspiration. The truth is, she doesn't just impact the trajectory of my life, she reshapes it. Through her influence, I've become more thoughtful, more patient, more resilient, and more aware of the possibilities that surround me. Growth isn't something she imposes, it's something she awakens within you, and the results are profound and lasting. Her influence is a reminder that real transformation comes from connection, from encouragement, and from the subtle, consistent way one person can inspire another to rise to their full potential. She doesn't just change the way I act, she changes the way I become. And in that I've discovered the most powerful lesson: growth isn't a destination. It's a journey, and when guided by someone like her, it becomes extraordinary. Gratitude is one of those things that's easy to talk about, but much harder to truly feel. It's easy to get caught up in achievements, in milestones, in moving forward and forget the people, the moments, and the quiet influences that make all of it possible. That's why recognition matters. And when I think about her, I realize that everything I've accomplished, every lesson I've learned, every perspective I've shifted, is somehow intertwined with her presence. She's not just a part of my life. She's a compass, a catalyst, and a mirror reflecting the best parts of me that I didn't even know existed. Gratitude begins with awareness. It's about noticing the little things that make a difference. She has this incredible way of showing up in ways that are subtle but deeply meaningful. The quiet support during a long night, the steady encouragement when doubt creeps in, the patience to listen when I need to speak, the insight to speak when I need to hear. These aren't grand gestures, but they are the ones that matter most. They are the building blocks of trust, connection, and influence. She makes me aware that the little things aren't little at all. They are everything. Recognition, in the true sense, is more than acknowledgement. It's about seeing someone fully, understanding the impact they have, and appreciating it without reservation. She has taught me that recognition isn't about applause or validation from the outside world. It's about honoring the presence, the effort, and the heart someone brings to every interaction. And when I recognize her, truly recognize her, I see how she shapes my world, how she challenges me, and how she inspires me to become better. I am grateful for her not because she makes life easier. In fact, she pushes me in ways I sometimes resist, but because she makes life richer, deeper, and more meaningful. Her influence is a reminder that gratitude is not passive. It is active. It's a choice to acknowledge the forces in our lives that elevate us, that challenge us, and that remind us who we are capable of being. Without that awareness, we risk taking people for granted, assuming their impact is natural or inevitable, when in reality it is a gift. And she is a gift in the true sense. Her presence has changed my perspective, deepened my connections, and inspired growth I didn't realize was possible. I have learned that recognition is not just a feeling. It is a responsibility. To see someone fully, to understand their worth, and to allow them to know that they are valued, that is a form of gratitude that has power far beyond words. By recognizing her, I acknowledge that she has shaped not just my journey, but my understanding of what it means to lead, to connect, and to evolve. Gratitude also reminds me of humility. Life is often framed as a solitary pursuit of accomplishment, but in truth, every step forward is supported by countless influences. She is one of the most profound of those influences in my life. Her wisdom, patience, and presence have allowed me to navigate challenges with clarity, to embrace growth with courage, and to pursue purpose with conviction. To express gratitude for her is to acknowledge that no achievement exists in isolation. Every breakthrough, every lesson, every perspective is amplified because of the people who stand beside us, and she has stood there in ways both seen and unseen. Recognition is ultimately about truth. It is the honest acknowledgement of impact, of value, of presence. And she deserves that acknowledgement, not only for what she brings to my life, but for who she is in the world. She embodies qualities that inspire, influence, and elevate, not through force, but through authenticity. She teaches by example, inspires by being, and transforms by existing fully in every moment. Gratitude is my way of honoring that, of making sure her influence is neither invisible nor overlooked. When I reflect on her, I realize that gratitude and recognition are inseparable from the love and respect I feel. To be aware of her impact, to value it, and to honor it is to understand that life's greatest achievements are not the ones you reach alone, but the ones you reach with someone who challenges, inspires, and elevates you. She has been that person for me. A steady force, a guiding light, and a reminder that the greatest success is meaningful connection. In the end, my gratitude is profound, my recognition is unwavering, and the truth is simple as she is not just a part of my journey. She is the reason the journey matters.